just have to say it is very intentional casting to have a young, attractive white woman's superpower be basically emotional manipulation.
I'm gonna get into her. I got notes on her. Her ability to manipulate emotionally and manipulate psychologically while still try to carry on like that sort of frail, fragile white woman persona, all the while she's like destroying people's minds. That is like, it's very triggering. And I think there is this assumption that's sometimes made that because white women historically were not at the forefront of all the physical violence, they were not just as violent. And I think Cate's character in Gen V is a perfect example of, no, she is not as physically violent as Homelander, but she's just as dangerous.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely some white women that are like, I know exactly what's going on here and I am going to intentionally weaponize it.
Yeah.
I think probably the majority of white women, there's a subconscious awareness of like how you are seen in the world.
Yeah.
They naturally utilize it without necessarily making the conscious decision to. If the world is constantly treating you as something precious and gentle that needs to be protected, like, yeah, you will operate the world in a certain way. I think it's something that they don't always like acknowledge is there, but it's there, and like on some level they know it. And I think that's Cate. Crazy Stupid Podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching, we'd love it if you could hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell so that you are aware of when we post things.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crazy Stupid Podcast. My name is Esther.
And I'm Adrian.
And we're here to talk about Gen V Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3. The new season has arrived.
So they released 3 episodes. I think what Amazon does sometimes is they'll do the first 3 and then weekly after that.
Oh.
I think that's what they're going to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's only 8 episodes. That's what I think. I could be mistaken. Maybe you guys in the comment section can let me know. But I think that's what they've done a few times in the past.
Well, you know, we're back in the boys universe. Always an interesting place to be. Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. That is honestly the only way you could describe it.
They're lucky that the show is good, because I don't think I could take it.
When Jordan's fighting Sam, they break through that one dorm. And I knew when you saw that one man on all fours and I heard another voice all echoey, I said, I know what this means. I'm going to cover my face now.
But, you know, they say a lot in the show.
They do.
And I do appreciate the things that they say. The first thing that I was thinking about was just like the politics of this universe in general. It's not as like straightforward as like it seems on its surface of like soups represent this group. It's just like a little bit more complicated. But I think the thing that I've landed on is that this show is different from other shows in that instead of taking the people with like the super abilities and attaching them to the oppressed group, what they've done is attach it to capital and whiteness.
Yes.
And like and so that's what makes it so convoluted and why the politics are not like as straightforward as like soups bad, humans good, or vice versa, or like any variation of that. It's not, I think it's a lot more complicated than like the X-Men's allegory, even though it does kind of call back to it a lot. I think it's different because what it is meant to show is essentially like the system that they have created is collapsing in on itself in the same way that like our systems of whiteness and capitalism have collapsed in on themselves. And so in the collapse, everybody suffers. You have this world where, yes, like human beings created this other race of people selfishly out of selfish gain, and then they utilize those people for selfish gain, and then those people feel the collapse of all of this. Like they are feeling like, yes, I have been giving all of this special ability and special power, but they are feeling as if they are not reaping the benefits of that thing. And the same is true, I think, for the people who created the system in the first place. And so now everybody is just suffering under the weight of it.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to like what we've seen happen with whiteness in real life. It will always reach a point where any system that you create that is built to create some sort of hierarchy, eventually it will collapse in, and the people will feel like they are not reaping the benefits of whatever they were promised, and then they're going to look for somebody else to blame.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's spot on. And I think not just Gen V, but the boys, touches on that also. And I think what the showrunners for The Boys and Gen V, what I think they understood is that sometimes when we do have the conversation of how problematic capitalism has been, there's a tendency for sometimes good intentions to unify everyone, to not mention how whiteness kind of plays a role in how that has sort of formulated in America, in American society, right? But The Boys, they bring up white supremacy and how, whether it's origins or whether it's deeply rooted into superhero origins, into the Doctor's origins and what their motives are, all the time.
The two things I think are inextricably linked, and I feel like the reason why the allegory works so well in The Boys is because, similarly to the way that like the soups in the show were a group of people that were created to create a separate class of people.
Yes.
That is the same thing that happened with whiteness. Whiteness was created for the benefit of capitalism. And so anytime that we are talking about capitalism or talking about all the things that came out of that, whiteness is always going to be a part of the conversation because it was created to make the system itself function.
One thing that I have been kind of thinking about, it was very jarring to see a lot of not just like young soups become radicalized, but like Gen Z become radicalized, like over the course of like a few episodes. When the Dean Cypher continues to give these speeches, there isn't that much current data to fuel this fear of that us versus them mentality, right? But he has sort of been embedding that a lot in the way that he's changed up their curriculum. Like he creates this new class that he wants these like strongest soups to sort of be a part of. And then in that last scene that he has in the class, he's given this idea of like, if they wanted to, they could wipe us all out. So he's already starting to lay the groundwork to radicalizing all of them. We see the way that they react to Starlighters and the violence that they've sort of created into, but how easy it was for Vaught to trick them into believing in a lot of misinformation. There was no investigating in like, if it was a Starlight supporter, would this even help their cause for them to want to do this? How could they have done this if they were just a regular human? Like, at no point is there any like critical thinking behind this story. They just kind of went with it.
Well, I think it goes back to that same idea of like that collapse. It's like the feelings that the soups have are like not made up. Like they have been mistreated.
Yeah.
They have been dehumanized. They have been utilized in horrible ways. They have not been fully recognized. The Boys did a lot to show us that as we spent more time with the superheroes. Like for a long time, it was like Vaught is the bad guy. And it wasn't necessarily like soups were bad. It was like, oh no, Vaught is the big bad, and the soups are all navigating within the politics that Vaught has created. Now we're reaching this point where like it's changing because of Homelander and how much power and control he has, and like there's stuff happening in the government and all this kind of stuff. But like when the underlying problems actually do exist, but you give them like an alternative explanation for it, then it's easy to get people to go along with whatever it is. Yeah. Like it's the same thing happening, I think, with Gen Z in real life. Like there is very real reason to be upset, and there's very real reason to feel like unstable. The future of the planet feels unstable. Like our politics, our socio-political landscape, it all feels unstable. And so there's good reason for younger people to be looking around and be like, something's off. Yeah. And I do not feel great about my future. And if you're not going to actually tackle the underlying problem, but you're just going to give them some sort of alternate, but like easy explanation for it, it's pretty easy to radicalize people. And I feel like it's the same thing happening in the show. Yeah. Like they really were running there really was an underground lab where they were testing on human people. Like, so there really is reason for them to be like, something is wrong. It's just that the explanation that they're giving them is incomplete, and it's a scapegoat.
It's also, I mean, on a larger level, but on a personal one, Marie's story of like a parent not telling her that they experimented on her, that's shown up a few times. There's no one for them to trust to like tell them the real story, right? Yeah. They can't even trust their parents. Yeah. You know, and so it's like, well, who do I go to? It's people like Cypher, it's people like Homelander that were at least attempting to speak at like that real frustration that I think that they're feeling, you know.
And it's easy to try to create a pattern. It's easy to be like, yeah, your parents, humans,
Yes,
created, like, put you in this situation that you now have to deal with, and now they have the nerve to be afraid of you, right? Like, or the same thing with Vaught. Yeah, these human people running this organization, utilizing us in these horrible ways, putting us in these horrible situations. Yeah. And like you were saying, like, we saw like a lot of the Supes have terrible relationships with their parents. Mm-hmm. Starlight had a horrible relationship with her mom putting her in all those, because the many of the parents who chose to do this to their children did this because they were seeking fame and they were seeking fortune through their children. Yeah. It's easy to point out the pattern and then try to extend that to like all of humanity, even if that's not really the problem. What really is the problem is that there is a system that exists because of Vaught, wherein your superpowers make you a source of capital. Like, that's the problem. Yeah. The thing that I was thinking about, like, I rewatched the episodes today because when I first watched it, I found myself feeling a little bit frustrated because I was like, all that stuff happened last season and like we're right back where we started, like they're back on campus. But then I really had to think about it and I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense for the parallel that they're trying to draw, because there is this kind of like maddening ability that, like, at least right now for us, like the state has to like maintain normalcy even when we know things are wrong. Yes. And I feel like the first episode really shows us that. Like, we watched last season horrific things happen that should have been enough to like really shake the table in a crazy way, right? Like, you find out about the woods, you find out that they're keeping people underground, like testing on them, right? Many people were unalived, right? There was like mass murder on campus. Like, insane things happen that like should result in a huge overhaul, a huge change. Things should not go back to normal after that, but somehow they do. And all of our main characters end up right back where they started, and you can see all of them are kind of feeling crazy because it's like, I just like, you want me to do what? Like, you want me to say this? You want me to make this statement and just like keep trudging along? Like, you kind of see, I think Emma especially is one who we see it bothering the most. Like, she's searching for other people to be as angry as her, to be like, this is crazy, right? Like, something is going on. We need to do something. But because Vaught was able to get things back to like, on the surface level, at least something that feels normal, no one's angry enough. No one, like, nothing has been disturbed enough for people to feel moved to actually do anything. Yeah. Even when she comes across people that she thinks are, right? When she comes across the Starlighters who keep putting up that poster, like, the things that they're doing is kind of like, it's like, guys, like, you know, like this, what we're up against is like, and the things that you're doing, the actions that you are taking, the severity of them, it does not match, right? Like, it doesn't reflect how terrible a situation we're in. And I feel like that is exactly what I feel like is happening right now. Like, I even think about like January 6th. Like, to me, I'm like, what happened at the end of last season is like our January 6th. But it's kind of crazy how like it happened and then it was just done. Yeah. And then it was like, and now it's just like a thing that we reference as like, yeah, January 6th. I'm like, no, that's a big thing. Or like, even like living in the DC area and now, and like, there's like there's like military personnel on our streets armed. Like, you walk down the street and there are like huge guns. Like, they are just carrying like AK-47s down the street. Like, it's crazy. But it's like, I'm just gonna go get my tacos. Like it's like that literally happened yesterday. Like, we're walking down the street about to go get tacos and we just walk by. We saw at least like 6 National Guards. It's just kind of like, it makes you feel a little bit insane. Yes. How normal things can feel, but then it's like, but this is wrong, right? Like, something is off.
It's also a little frustrating because of where the media has sort of spent their attention. Mm-hmm. That's also been a little frustrating. And this is not to say that they shouldn't have covered these things, like with what happened with Trump and the assassination attempt, or what happened with Charlie Kirk. I think obviously those should be covered. But it felt like, and I remember seeing so many tweets online with people like the Democratic workers in Minnesota, like Melissa Hortman. It was like they were assassinated, and it felt like the media didn't care. you did not see them get talked about. You didn't see the outrage. You didn't see the flag lowering in the same way. You didn't see, obviously, the administration mentioned it the same way, but you also did not see the media treat this in the same way. And you see these, I mean, same thing, Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, their house was caught on fire.
That book that Chris Hayes wrote, like one of the things that he talks about is like, there's this notion that the media controls where we put our attention. But he was saying, actually, as somebody who works in the media, what they are always trying to do is chase the things that they know will catch our attention.
Yeah.
And I feel like, or what already is like where the attention is already heading. And I feel like just at a societal level, we've lost the ability to collectively care about any one thing at a time enough, unless it is especially jarring. And in order for it to be especially jarring, it has to impact a certain status of person. It has to, like, there's all these boxes that it has to check. Like Melissa Hortman is a name that like most people don't know.
No.
But like so many people know Charlie Kirk's name, right? Like Charlie Kirk made himself a very well-known person through his Turning Point USA and all the stuff. As a society, we have kind of lost the ability to pay attention to most things, I think, and to sustain that attention. And media outlets know that. And so they are going to cover the stories where the attention already is. It's like this vicious cycle, because it's like, well, now if the media is not talking about it, now no, it's like, yeah, our attention isn't on it. And then now you guys are not talking about it. So now our attention can't go to it. Yeah. And so it just creates this horrible cycle. But it's just like what we see in the show with like, yeah, all that stuff happened last season. They don't even really talk about like what they've created a whole narrative now wherein the terrible thing that was happening had nothing to do with the people whose lives were lost. The terrible thing was the people being held captive in the lab in the woods, which was a terrible thing, but it's not the end of the story.
Yes.
Like a lot happened after that.
Yeah.
But they don't even talk about that, right? But then when Cate gets attacked, it becomes this huge thing. But it's because she's a specific person. She's a well-known face. She's
a white woman.
Yeah, she's become like this darling, person of Vaught, because she's white, because she's attractive, because she's young. Also, I just have to say, it is very intentional casting to have a young, attractive white woman's superpower be basically emotional manipulation.
I'm gonna get into her. Oh, I got notes on her.
Yeah. Because of social media and because like we are like over flooded with information all the time, there's only certain types of stories that actually catch everybody at once.
Yeah.
And the media knows that. And so they go after those stories and then they cover them extensively for weeks. Like they won't talk about anything else because they're like, this is the thing that's got them, until something else comes in, takes our attention elsewhere.
Yeah. We should stay on Cate, because I'll be real, I don't have a lot of empathy for her. I have some sympathy for her, but what I find fascinating about Cate's character is that, yes, there are moments where like there is someone above her that is exploiting her, that is using her for her own benefit. I mean, the dean essentially says that, like, without your powers, you are no good. But she has also used her powers of emotional and psychological manipulation to control a lot of people in this show. Specifically, she has used it to control a lot of white people and white men. And I feel like a lot of times when people talk about, let's say, Cate's character or other white women in fictional stories, or even sometimes like women in like the historical context, it's this idea of like, you're trying to fit yourself, and I've used this language as well, as like trying to fit yourself into this system that doesn't value you, and like you don't even recognize it and it's too late. I do feel like there are some white women that know exactly what they're doing and they contribute it to its fullest extent. And I don't know if that is exactly who Cate is. Her ability to manipulate emotionally and manipulate psychologically while still try to carry on like that sort of frail, sort of very fragile white woman persona, all the while she's like destroying people's minds. That is like, it's very triggering. And I think there is this assumption that sometimes made that because white women historically were not at the forefront of all the physical violence, they were not just as violent. And I think Cate's character in Gen V is a perfect example of, no, she is not as physically violent as Homelander, but she's just as dangerous.
Yeah, and you see the politics play out in the show, like in real time. Like I rewatched the season 1 finale just to remind myself like what happened. But like one of the very last thing that happens in that episode is Cate is about to go and use her powers on Jordan.
Yes.
And then Marie sees that she's about to do that and she blows her arm off. And then Homelander lands and sees a white woman in tears crying with her arm blown off after a black woman just came in and blew her arm off. But the white woman was about to use the arm that got blown off on somebody else.
Yes. Even in this season, you're mad that Jordan used their powers on you, but what were you about to do just a few moments earlier? You were about to use your powers on Marie because you felt like they had to come in, you had to tell them everything that you et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just feel like at some point it would be very cathartic if her character arc went down a journey of her acknowledging the kind of power that she's wielding over her peers and over society as a whole. Because there is the same way how there is this desire for a lot of white people to see white men present a high level of strength and dominance, i.e. people like Donald Trump. I think there is an equal amount of desire to see the kind of white woman that Cate presents herself as. Meek. Yes. A little fragile, a little sensitive, someone almost damsel in distress like to an extent. Even
if on a subconscious level, I think this is true of a lot of white women. I think there probably are definitely some white women that are like, there's definitely some white women that are like, I know exactly what's going on here and I am going to intentionally weaponize it.
Yeah.
I also though think that there's a lot, I think that probably the majority of white women, it's like there's a subconscious awareness of like how you are seen in the world.
Yeah.
And they naturally utilize it without necessarily making the conscious decision to. Yeah. And I think it's something that has to be like intentionally unlearned because if the world is constantly treating you as something precious and gentle that needs to be protected, like, you will operate the world in a certain way. And I think, yes, I think on a certain level, they often have an understanding of like, I know that this will be the reaction if I do this thing. I know that this will be the reaction if I do this thing. If I cry right now, if I I think that there is like, I think it's something that they don't always like acknowledge is there, but it's there and like on some level they know it. And I think that's Cate.
Yeah.
I think she like on some level understands like, oh, like this is how I am seen. This is how but I don't know if she's being like, and I will purposely utilize this to, I don't know. I also think the other thing about her is I think that she really thinks she's doing the right thing. I think like, cause she saw a lot and learned a lot last season, right? She learned about everything like from her perspective, she was being used by Shetty, the humans, to manipulate her friends so that they could be kept in an underground lab so that they could be tested. Like from her perspective, like humans have been like the puppeteers this whole time.
I understand that. I think it's hard for me to understand how you are not seeing the irony of the decisions that you're making. You are emotionally and mentally manipulating people while trying to express that you have been emotionally and manipulated by two deans now. Like, how has it not clicked yet?
Baby, that's white woman. I think her logic is she is trying to look out for her friends. And so she thinks like you, like the thing with Marie, she was like, well, like you are safer if you come. Like you are safer if you do this. she has enough wherewithal to be afraid of people. Like she knows who is a threat and who to be afraid of. And so I think she genuinely thinks like, well, I'm just doing what I need to do for you so that you're actually safe. So that like I'm trying to look out for you. She just has to take her thoughts all the way through. It's like just take it like a step further. They're dangerous. You see, they're a threat to your safety. So maybe we should try to handle the threat to our safety rather than go on this weird rampage against human beings writ large. Yeah. But also, I think with her, a lot of it also has to do with, I don't remember everything about her parents, but I know she has some stuff with her parents too. The only things that I really had was just about like the way that they're just showing that like once whatever power you're trying to talk about, like once they control the mouthpiece, that just like how difficult it becomes for anything to actually impact them or slow them down. Yeah. Like what we were talking about, how like at the end of last season, the narrative that they spent at the end of last season was that Marie, Emma, Andre, Jordan were all responsible for what happened on the campus and that they were to blame. And then at the beginning of this season, we see them spin up a completely different narrative that like doesn't compute with the other one at all. Like it's nonsensical. It doesn't even make sense. Both of these things cannot be true. Yeah. But it's like, because they control the narrative, because they control the media, they control all the news that people are receiving, they're in politics, they are like they're on the forefront of all the spaces where people are getting their information from. It doesn't matter. Like whatever happens can just be spun whatever way they want to meet their needs, to further whatever their goals are, right? Yeah. And like it doesn't even have to make sense. It doesn't even have to be convincing. You don't even need a majority of people to fall for it and believe it. It's just the fact that you're going up there and saying it over and over and over again, and there's no actual platform or voice for a competing narrative to even cut through the noise. Yeah. And like that's the exact same thing happening now. Like all the stuff that happened after the Charlie Kirk thing, okay? Like the narrative spinning went kind of crazy, okay? And I know that we don't 100% know the politics of the kid. Like it seems like that's kind of confused right now, but it's like before we knew anything, it didn't matter. Like we all knew, even before we knew who did it, it wasn't going to matter who did it. We knew exactly what narrative they were going to spin and how they were going to use it. And we're watching that happen. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not. And it doesn't matter if most of us believe it or not. They're just going to keep saying it. And then they're going to do whatever they're going to do. Yeah.
What's also interesting that I've noticed, you saw a lot of people jump at a lot of news articles. Was it Wall Street Journal, I believe, who jumped at the idea of like, oh, the person was a leftist, the person was trans, or the person was X, Y, and Z. And they're like, and a lot of that essentially might actually being debunked. They had to come out there and say that. But that got lost. The damage had already been done.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Right? And these news outlets, they're not even going to cover it the same way. My issues with New York Times, they at least put out that article very soon afterwards. Again, but like, we didn't have enough evidence to confirm essentially what's sort of being said out loud, like around social media. But even this, the last couple of days, more reports have come out where like officials that are working on this case essentially came out and said, like, we don't have enough evidence at all to link this person to any left-wing ideology, left-wing group, left-wing anything. And you have not seen the same kind of coverage on it. And so what's left is you're going to have a whole group of people believing one thing and the other group of people with an updated source of information. And I feel like that happens so often. Yeah. It happens so often.
That's something that's been kind of like crazy to watch. It's like the administration will come out and say like just like crazy things that like, you know, like don't make sense. And you also like the majority of people know don't make sense. But it's like it just literally doesn't even matter. Like it does, they don't even have to be convincing, and they know they don't have to be convincing because they're just in charge of everything. Right. So they just spin some stuff up and then they just keep saying it over and over again, and then they just do whatever they're gonna do. Like I don't know. It's the exact same thing that we're seeing in the show. It's like everything that you think would be a hindrance, would slow things down for Vaught, would be a problem. Would, like, it just isn't.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter. They can just keep coming out with whatever story they want, and they can keep turning this into whatever they need it to be for them to keep doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Deep breaths. Strange pivot, but those are our thoughts on the first few episodes of Gen V. It's one of the good shows that we like to watch. It garners a lot of conversations. We'd love to know what you guys think, whether it's about the thoughts that we've shared, whether it's about the first 3 episodes. Did you like them? Did you not like them? Let us know in the comment sections below. We'll be reviewing this and Peacemaker for the last few episodes that Peacemaker has. And with that, we will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.